Xi Jinping is not the president of China anymore.
There are rumors, not from the West, not from the USA, but from within China, that China is having a coup and the leader has been sidelined. Now, in a country that punishes and disappears people for even mentioning things like this is...
What is this graphic here? What is this list? It's just a map of Asia and Africa with red and yellow colors and a list of what that means.
pretty unprecedented. Remember, China ranks
The dramatic music.
last in the world for journalistic freedom, and there is no freedom of speech or anything of the sort. Honestly, I feel like they're on the precipice of arresting people for even thinking the wrong things. But jokes aside, this kind of stuff
At least he admits it's a joke.
doesn't happen in China. No one makes rumors about the central leadership and then goes on to live another day. The thing is, it did happen.
Wait.
There are rumors, and they are coming out of China, and that's wild.
Wait. So you have to decide. Or China is this country that disappears with people who make rumors, or there's no rumors. Like you need to decide, man.
Massive shout out to Shitu Reji Fun TV. It's a fantastic Taiwanese run channel about all this kind of stuff. Got some of my inspiration for this video actually from him. Basically what happened was there was a big conference in Beidaihe, which is the most important location in the country for the Chinese Communist Party.
And again, it already happened this year. This story, Beidaihe, already happened. It's the second time Xi Jinping is going through a coup in 2024.
Anyway, weirdly enough, a ton of rumors started circulating about the most off-limits topic ever in China. And that is the leader of China, Xi Jinping, and that he is currently under house arrest, and a coup has already started internally within the CCP. Basically, the crux of the rumor is that the factions within the CCP, like the military, which Xi Jinping has been purging relentlessly, have teamed up.
His source, the Voice of America. Voice of America is literally an agency paid by the United States government. So they say purge. 2 military guys were arrested first, and then other 8. 10 guys in total were arrested for corruption. This is considered a purge.
To overthrow him.
So it's bad, right? It's bad that China is arresting politicians for corruptions. China bad.
The rumors basically stated that Xi is only responsible for being the face of China to the rest of the world. Kind of like a spokesman or a figurehead of the state of the People's Republic of China. And that he shouldn't have ultimate control and leadership over the entire country, and every single decision-making process shouldn't be dictated by him. He will therefore remain in charge on the surface, but will be sidelined behind the scenes. Now, in this rumor, it says that during the sidelining process, there are 2 powerful figures, a guy named Ding and a guy named Hu will act as agents of change. And after Xi has been sidelined successfully, Hu Chunhua will replace him publicly as leader. Now, if you dig deeper into this rumor, it really comes down to the fact that at the 3rd plenary session of the CPC Central Committee, which is basically a massively long and boring way to say an important commie meeting, people started saying that Xi had had a stroke and that his health had been deteriorating. You might have seen these rumors online.
Yeah, the rumor. Jesus Christ, man. The rumors was like some guy posted on Chinese internet. He's connected to Xi Jinping somehow. And then this reporter, this journalist from the extreme right wing in the United States posted this photo from 3 months before saying that Xi Jinping had a stroke. So this photo is not from the same time when they say, oh yeah, he suffered a stroke. So this is already a fake news. It's a lie. So all this story that Xi Jinping had a coup and there is this party controlling everything already happened like 5 months ago.
So now all of these branches of government either saw this as an opportunity to unite and strike, or very powerful people within China are very sick of one guy making all the decisions that have led to China completely destroying its relationship with its biggest paycheck, the USA.
China's slowing economy. So China's slowing economy is growing 5% this year. United States is going through a recession. But this guy thinks United States is the one that makes China rich. Somehow.
The evidence for these rumors was that people started to notice that for once and forever, Xi's name wasn't mentioned on the front page of the paper, which is pretty wild because every single corner of every paper in China has his name and picture. But not only that, there was also a reduction of his pictures and his quotes and insignia around the country, especially in rural areas. And that is interesting because right before I left China in 2018, the entire country was becoming blanketed.
This is a lie. I'm living in China in 2024. I barely see Xi Jinping around, like really, barely. And he's saying that, images of Xi Jinping are changed in the rural areas. Where are the images? Because he's not showing these images. He's just showing some random photos of Xi Jinping around the country.
In Xi Jinping banners and quotes that really looked like the time of Chairman Mao Zedong. You know that.
Look at as always in China, was always like that. During the empires and dynasties was the same. During Chiang Kai-shek time was the same. There was a huge photo of Chiang Kai-shek in Shanghai. There was a photo of Chiang Kai-shek on Tiananmen Square. Was the same because that's China. That's not the Communist Party.
That cult of personality worship phase of the very dark period of China.
Yeah, cult of personality only works for communist countries. But Mount Rushmore, for sure, is not a cult of personality, right? But the faces of the presidents that were slavery, that own slaves and everything on the banknotes, this is okay. Hong Kong has a Victoria Peak, Victoria Harbor, Victoria Park, Victoria West, East Road. This is not cult of personality, no.
That was coming back. The fact that people started noticing that local governments were removing this imagery is very, very interesting and definitely something worth looking at. Also, in the publicly published military paper of the People's Liberation Army, yes, they have a newspaper.
Of course.
There was a quote, resolutely make sign.
The United States also have. It's called the Star and Stripes. Even they had since the World War II, man. Are you crazy? Resolutely make
scientific decisions, democratic decisions, and decisions in accordance with the law. People read into this as not only a direct challenge to the decision-making process of Xi Jinping, who's supposed to be in complete control of the military, but also as being directly anti-Xi Jinping. If you interpret it, it basically says that one man can't make all the decisions. They need to be made with multiple sources of democratic input.
So you can interpret the way you want, right?
Now, one can infer from these rumors that this would probably be a slow coup or a slow process. You see, Xi Jinping has amassed so much power in the country that it would take a very, very long time for a united group.
You have to decide. It's for almost 5 minutes. You already said he had a stroke. He was in house arrest. Now you're saying it's a slow coup. Man, get your arguments right.
Of these branches of governments to actually weed out his men. And to avoid chaos, a leader would still have to appear in international meetings and meet with international leaders and actually meet with the public and show up in public to avoid making China look weak or unstable. But I want to address the most important part of the video.
Let's go.
Do I personally think that these rumors are true? This video is brought to you.
Now it comes the part that you say, no, actually it's not true.
No.
See?
But I think these things surface for a reason. There's always something to learn from this type of event.
There's no rumor. What he's doing is seeing images in the clouds, right? He's getting something here, something there. And look at this. There is a coup in China. The Middle Kingdom is falling apart.
And it's led me to having a thought experiment.
Oh, of course.
And this is the fun part.
Of course it's fun.
I think personally, if there were threads of truth to these rumors, it would be because there are many powerful people in China that do not like the direction that China is going.
All of those guys are dead. What are you talking about?
In pine for the good old days. I also think it's a little too convenient to look at this from the perspective of revenge, to attribute everything that happens to people trying to get back at the leadership for losing their positions, etc., etc. Xi Jinping has removed many powerful people and actually disappeared many powerful government leaders, like Qin Gang, the former Minister of Foreign Affairs.
The guy, so that I really like when they say these kind of things. What China does is remove these guys from the spotlight, do the investigation, and once the investigation is done, they bring the person back and say, look, we found nothing, or you found something, and so on and so on. That's what happened with the military he mentioned before, the purge. Several guys, they were arrested, and they kind of disappeared from the spotlight. And I mean that China threw them in a dungeon. They just were not on TVs, were not on newspapers. There's no fuzz about it. So the government runs the investigation, and then, okay, we found out those guys actually did something wrong, and now they'll be arrested. It's happening the same with this guy. Actually, he's connected to some kind of leaking data, leaking information from the rockets division to United States while he was ambassador in the US, something like that.
And the ambassador of the USA.
Former Foreign Minister Qin Gang was removed from his post. China's Defense Minister, General Li Shangfu, disappeared from public view for months, has now been expelled from the party, accused of corruption. That's at least 2 ministers that disappeared just in the last year.
Yeah.
This means China is really merciless in dealing with corruption of all kinds, even among the
Your
highest
Foreign
rank.
Minister and Defense Minister, imagine Antony Blinken and Lloyd Austin just disappeared.
Imagine that you are not in China. You are not Chinese. You don't live in China. You don't know how this society works. You want Chinese society, Chinese mindset to fit on what you want. Oh, imagine Antony Blinken disappear. Yes, he's from the US. The things in the US are run different. It's that hard to understand that China is not the US.
Tomorrow. We don't know where they are. We've never seen them again. That's not normal, Victor.
Corruption of all
China
kinds
is-
in
yes.
China need to be dealt with.
So where's the
with
trial?
Mercilessness.
So where's the trial?
Those things you don't know doesn't happen.
Yes.
Qin Gang was my good friend for more than 20 years.
Where is he then?
He is involved in corruption.
Where is he?
And he is dealt with very swiftly.
Where is he, Vic?
Regardless of
He's your good friend. You don't know where he is.
seniority.
And by the way, he wasn't accused of corruption. The spokesman came out and said he has health reasons. Then corruption came later, by the way.
That means there is a process. And the process
The process
is
starts
not
with
just-
one lie that he's ill, and then the next lie is he's corrupt.
He may be ill. You never know.
I mean, he's probably ill after he's been in a Chinese
He
prison.
may be ill now.
Last question.
That's the point.
Where is he?
He's somewhere in China. You will never see him.
And Li Shangfu.
See, that's the point. These people that they don't live in China, they just like this guy, this guy who was doing the interview. He was just poking to get clicks. That's it, the views and clicks.
China's former
this
defense
one
minister. This behavior
was
isn't
arrested.
normal. These purges are wild.
Purges, 2 people.
And that's going to piss off a lot of people in the opposing internal cliques of the government. But I also think that it's much more complicated than that.
Of
No one
course you
really
do.
knows who's aligned with who at the end of the day. And because of the opaque nature of the Chinese government, we can only take stabs in the dark in regards to how they operate. If we are really seeing a slow internal coup, here's what I think would be the best case scenario for the world.
If we are seeing it, if we are seeing maybe this has happened, wishful thinking.
First of all, decentralization of power will begin. And there's a reason that that would happen. It would be to return China back to the golden period that was making everybody rich. Everyone in the West was making money from China, and everyone in China was getting rich from cooperation with the West. People want that again. You already have branches of government in China that could run quite smoothly in conjunction with one another. The problem is, currently, every single branch and ultimately every single decision comes down to the central party. And
Imagine that China is the 4th biggest country in the world, I think. 1.4 billion people, and every decision is made by Xi Jinping. Every decision. How insane are those arguments? How stupid you have to be to say these kind of things?
even worse, ultimately, the decision of one person. All that could change. In an ideal situation, I reckon we would see a decentralization.
Ideal situation for a white American man, right? Right? Not for the Chinese people, because he's not Chinese. He doesn't live in China.
Liberalization akin to what we've seen in Vietnam. A communist country, an authoritarian country on paper, but a country that has already been reducing
Economy, freedom, country profile. Who makes this kind of rankings? Who? Right? We need to understand who and how this data is collected. What's the interest behind?
power and repairing relations with the West, almost in counter to China. The dictator of China no longer could control every single facet of the government. The military could be controlled by the military, not the dictator. The judicial system could be independent and not under the direct decision-making process of the dictator.
Again, is a white American saying how Chinese should be ruled, like the US did when they invaded China in 1898. That's what they did. Not only the United States, but the British Empire, the Italians, the Austro-Hungarian Empire, all those guys, they invaded and they wanted to tell China how China should be, like they did in Japan, in South Korea, they tried in Vietnam.
You'd still have the CCP, you'd still have the Communist Party of China, but it would be gradually a functionally decentralized CCP, which could further become a more palatable and more trustworthy government that would be easier for the West to deal with. Even if China stays a horrible authoritarian power.
See the point? Easier for the West to deal with. It's not better for the Chinese because that's not what he wants. As a white American man, he doesn't care about the Chinese people.
Power that tramples on the rights of its people. If China stopped meddling in the West's affairs and stopped trying to bully its way to the top of the global order, these reforms that I just mentioned would likely appease the West enough to even make them maybe take a step back in defending Taiwan after many years of China behaving well.
Look how the colonizer talks. No, if China plays nicely, maybe the West will step back and do not do anything regarding Taiwan if China plays well. Everybody in the world, except 12 countries, recognize that Taiwan is part of China. That was decided in 1943. But because China, the Communist Party of China won the revolution, the Civil War, and Chiang Kai-shek run away to Taiwan, installed a dictatorship there, supported by the US, then now Taiwan is not China anymore. But that's the whole point of this wishful thinking here. Oh, we want China to be nice so we can abuse of China again, like we did for 150 years, what China calls it a century of humiliation.
Now, I'm not saying that this is a good thing, by the way. I personally think that we should always aid a democratic Taiwan, but I think rushing to Taiwan's aid would be a lot tougher of a sell for Western governments if China starts behaving, trade resumes, and then China makes a modicum of reforms internally that at least makes them appear more trustworthy.
This guy has the same speech of like 200 years ago.
After some time, again, if any of this was true, the US and its allies could then begin to at least trust China a little more again on the trade front, and China's economy would very quickly repair.
Yeah, because China's economy is only growing 5%, which is good, right? Which is good. It's not growing more because the West doesn't trust China anymore, even though a lot of factories are still coming to China.
Remember, that's what a lot of people want here.
Apple tried to produce iPhones in India. Didn't work. They are moving back to China.
It needs the rest of the world to trade with it. And what better trade partners than the countries and its
15 billion is nothing.
Friends that literally run the global economy. Remember, I was in China during the golden period, as I call it, and although I disagreed with China's human rights abuses and many of the government's decisions on the whole,
even though he disagreed with that, all that, he lived here for many years and made a lot of money, right?
I did see a positive future for China and its partnership with the world. It was a positive time. It was a time for many of us, like myself, that we would like to return to.
It's funny because he and his partner, the other guy who was on the video with him, they are called sex pets here in China.
Including people in the Chinese government right now.
There are jokes here, by the way. People in Shenzhen, you only make jokes about them.
Love to see China return to normal relations with the U.S. as well. It's what made the money in the first place.
Yes, of course.
Honestly, in terms
China was the richest country in the world until 1838. But for sure, they needed the United States to be rich again, right?
Positive outcomes for China. This is not necessarily the best outcome. No, that would be a beautiful, flourishing Chinese democracy. But this is probably the most realistic.
What kind of democracy? what kind of democracy? Let's think. Because I'm Brazilian, and in Brazil, we vote directly for president. Every person, one vote. That's how it works. In the United States, people vote for delegates. So they don't have a direct vote to president. In the UK, people vote for the party. And then the party that has more votes will choose the prime minister. So which democracy do you want? What kind of democracy are you talking about? Is a white man from the United States in 2024 telling how an Asian country should be.